Hello everyone, welcome back to Making Mara. I'm Mara and today we're going to be making paper roses. Now, paper roses is something that I started looking into for my wedding. I wanted to have paper roses on all the table centerpieces, so I researched some patterns and I don't remember where I found this one, but it was the one that I thought was the best in terms of how simple and easy it was to make and the result that came out of it. In order to get into it, you're going to need first off some paper. I'm using here some recycled paper that didn't print quite right. Then I have scissors, a glue gun, floral wire, beads, and these are, I think they're 1/4 of an inch, just plastic pearlized beads. We need a glue stick, pliers, and then optionally also some floral tape. Alright, so to start off I'm going to make a couple of stems to go in the center of our roses. So take your floral wire and you're going to cut a piece that's twice as long as you want the final stem to be. That seems good to me. Thread a bead through, line it up so that it's halfway along. And then we're just gonna twist this up. Alright, so there's our stem. To make the rose, we'll need our paper, scissors, and our glue stick. So we're gonna make roses that are about 3-4 inches across. So we'll start with 1/2 of a sheet of paper. Then we're going to fold it in half again down the center. And now this here is gonna be the center of our rose. And we're going to make sure we get 8 petals on each disc of paper. So fold it into quarters like this, and then into quarters again like this. Snip the end off, round out the top. Then you should end up with this. Each rose is going to need 3 of these sheets. So let's just make a couple more. Alright, so now we have our 3 sheets of paper. We're going to cut some petals off of each one. Cut 1 off of 1, 2 off of 2, and 3 off of the last one. So now here are the pieces for our rose. We have six pieces. We're going to have 6 layers. This is the order of the layers they're going to be in. So the biggest, oops, that's backwards. So the biggest all the way to the smallest. So we'll start by gluing together these layers. We're going to glue an entire, oops, that's a lot of glue. We're gonna, glue, made a mess. 1 entire segment of all of the big ones, and then you overlap an entire segment. So our bottom layer is gonna have 6 petals, next one will have 5, and then 4, because we're overlapping a layer. So now while we let those ones dry, we're going to do these. And what I found was that for these, it might be helpful to snip off a little bit of the bottoms of them, because that can kind of overlap and get in the way, and then there won't be a hole in the bottom, and then if there's not a hole in the bottom, you can't get the stem through. So I find that trimming these can help a little bit. This is the hardest one to make because it's so tight to try to form. So we're gonna start by gluing up a small amount of the edge. You're gonna roll it carefully, overlap, and then I like to use something else, like here I'm using the back of a paintbrush to just sort of get in there and make sure that we can push the edges against each other and get the glue to stick. Cap this up before I forget, and it dries all out. Okay, so now this is the general idea of what we're looking at. It looks okay, and that might be where some people want to stop, but I don't prefer the straight sides, particularly on these outer layers. So to give it a little bit more of a rose-like look, since this one feels pretty dry, what you're gonna do is you're gonna not bend down and crimp, but bend down and sort of roll up without actually creasing it at any point, so that it holds a shape like that. So we're not creasing it, we're just forming it down. If you do, let's say, accidentally crease it, you can see, that's what it looks like if it's creased. It doesn't look as natural as this one does, which is why I don't want to crease, but you can kind of pull it back out and sort of flatten it a little bit again, and you can recover from that. It's a very forgiving pattern, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. So we're only gonna add these turns to the bottom 3 layers. I suppose you could add it a little bit to the 4th if you wanted. I didn't do that for the ones that I made for my wedding, but we could try turning down just one of them to see how it looks. It'll look nice. You can just turn the very edges down a little bit. And then we can leave the inner one standing up, because in roses in nature, the center petals are standing up in the center. So now, if we stack this back together, you can see what a difference that made just on its own. That looks already so much more natural. So now we can take our stem, which is over here. We're going to use a little bit of hot glue to hold them all on here. Oh. I forgot to preheat my hot glue gun, so we'll have to give that a moment. All right, while we're waiting for the hot glue to heat up, I'll show you how to make a calyx, which I didn't use because the bottom wasn't going to be visible. But if it is going to be visible, adding a calyx will cover the hot glue that's going to go here and can make it look really, really nice. We don't need this much paper. We're going to fold this into 6. What we're going to do is we're going to make a very long pattern to just get this very long spike. And now when we open this up, we should have this is 12-sided. I did not mean to do that. All right, I meant to make a 6-sided piece of paper and did that wrong. So let's try again with the other half. So now we're gonna follow a very similar process to the other one. We're gonna cut it, and instead of cutting a whole piece out, we're gonna overlap it and glue it like this to make 5 sides. So we're going to twist these up, but you can go a lot more exaggerated on this. The calyx in nature is generally, on roses at least, is pretty turned down. So now my hot glue is heated, it's hot. So we can add a little dab of hot glue. I'm gonna thread my calyx on. All right, and then we'll give that a moment to cool down and set. So now optionally, we can include some floral tape on the wire if it's going to be visible. And adding the floral tape really just sort of covers the wire, makes it look a bit thicker, sort of a more finished appearance. So there's our rose. So something that I thought we'd play around with is other kinds of paper. Let's see what we can do with other kinds of paper. So I have here some brown paper. And here I have these iridescent glass beads. Now, I think I really like how this one looks. I'm going to use that one. I'll just repeat all of the same processes, but with this paper now, instead of this paper. I'm also not going to bother floral taping this one or putting the calyx on. Just do a basic brown paper rose. Pro tip, be very careful not to touch hot glue. It is, as the name implies, quite hot. I once was hot gluing in shorts. It was my first time really using hot glue. I didn't know why that might be a bad idea. So I dropped a glob of hot glue on my leg. And then, of course, you can't rub it off because you just smear hot glue all over your leg. So I had to just like let it sit there while it cooled off and then peel it off. Luckily I wasn't burned too bad, but it could have been a lot worse. All right, so here we go. That is what our brown paper flower turned into, and that's lovely. If I had realized how nice this was gonna look, maybe I would have included a couple of these at my wedding. Okay, so now as the final idea, I wanna do one with some wrapping paper scraps. But I'm following the same process for this one. I should have thought about this before Christmas, because I think if you put this on a present, that would make a great decoration in place of those ribbon bows that you get. And it's made out of recycled paper. Got ourselves some cobwebs. So there's our wrapping paper version. So here we have 3 ideas for paper roses. You can see that those were incredibly easy to make, and the results just speak for themselves. Yeah, so this is a fun thing to mess around with. It takes remarkably few materials to make, and there's options that could be finished and stand alone more on their own. You could use colored paper, red paper, and you could use green for the calyx, or you can leave it more abstracted or leave them off entirely. Whatever works for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when I make something else. Bye bye.